everyone, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel and my next video on completing my little patchwork journal cover. I started this series last week or so wanting to learn how to slow stitch or just get myself reacquainted with it. I used to do more of it when I was much younger and haven't for years, and so I'm just relearning and just trying to slow down and do some of this embroidery basic techniques. I did a little bit more on my little journal cover. Last week I did the free motion stitching design, and I showed how I did that. I added a stamped image, and it just says, "And so this adventure begins," and then added some of the patchwork, and then I went ahead and I did just a tacking stitch on that to keep those patchwork pieces into place, and I showed that all on that first video. The last few days I have been working on just some basic stitches. I'm learning how to do the running stitch, which is of course is very easy, and I did that in a couple little spots just to outline those little patches. I also did the blanket stitch going down this piece. Did a feather stitch, which turned out kind of funky. I need a lot of practice on that one. And what I found a book that I purchased. There's so many out there. Sorry about the glare, but there's so many out there. But the reason why I chose this one is it has these very simple outline designs. It shows how it looks when it's done up. I thought I could either, you can use like a transfer paper or whatever to transfer these, but they're easy enough where I can just hand draw them and then make them a little bigger if I need to fill up an area. And it also goes through and tells you what stitch to do on what and how many strands you should use. It just has 15 of the basic stitches, which was enough for me. So that was I thought a good starting point. Also, what I liked about this is it has different borders on it that I thought were really fun, and also alphabet. There's a couple different alphabets and some corners that I thought were interesting. So that was the reason why I went with this book. I'll link it down below for you if anybody else is interested. If you're a beginner like me, I think it is more for beginners. It just has, like I said, those 15 basic stitches. Another thing I wanted to share with you is my mom's tin. I grew up with this tin, and this is where she kept all her embroidery floss. And I'll never forget the day when I was taking all these papers off of all these, and I couldn't understand why she got so mad at me, but yeah. Anyway, it looks like this. I've been slowly taking these and putting them onto little white bobbin cards just to make them a little bit neater. Some of these, like this is a Lily brand, which I haven't seen. I don't know if they're even still made, and it has like the price. This one was 10 cents. I'm saving these old papers just because they're so just so cool. But anyway, that is my mom's tin. This is going to go on display in my sewing room when I have it all emptied out. One of the things that I've done too is I've practiced. I just took a piece of just fabric and really started practicing the feather stitch, the blanket stitch. The book is for a right-handed person, and I did mention a channel that I love, Roxy Creations, and I'll link that down below as well. I love if you've already watched her. She's awesome. And so Rachel, I believe, is also left-handed because I can watch what she does and I can get it. But the book is for right-handed people, and so I've struggled, and I never used to struggle so much with just flipping it over in my brain. But I think as you get older, your fingers don't work as well, and neither does your brain. But what a good exercise, right? Just to get that. So I did have to do some practicing, and I will say that I think I was just thinking too hard too, because you kind of know what a feather stitch looks like, and so just don't think so hard and just do it. What I want to do today is I want to do, notice how this print has this just kind of a fun motif. I'm going to draw that out, just to mimic that a little bit on this top and maybe down here too. And then I'm going to stitch it using a couple different colors that I've picked out. Probably do a French knot in the center, and maybe a daisy stitch. I will see how it goes with that. And then for the little house, I decided I think I'm going to do some stitching on here, and then I'm going to do fill some in with an Inktense ink, just either with my pencils or with my Inktense blocks, and we'll see how that goes too. So I hope you would join me. Let's get started. I'm drawing my little design. I'm using a heat erase pen for this. Did a 5-petal flower, just real simple, couple little leaves on this curvy stem. Now these heat erase pens completely iron out, but I did notice that I really didn't have much of them showing at all after I did my stitching. So even like a pencil would work for that. Did a very simple stitch here on this flower, just filled it in with a satin stitch. And now my favorite stitch, even as a child, my mom taught me how to do this little daisy stitch for these leaves. Very simple and easy to do, and just really adds a cute little effect. I did a back stitch on this particular stem, and this one I did a running stitch, and I like the running stitch a lot better. It's a little bit more pronounced. I'm sure there's, different areas where you want one over the other. Doing my French knots now, I did 3 French knots in each of these little flowers, and I just wrap my thread around twice, and I'm using a 2-strand for those. Now on to adding some detail to my little row houses. I decided on a feather stitch below the houses, and I'm struggling. I find it's easier to do one side where the needle is pointing one direction easier than the other side for whatever reason. I just need more practice with it. But I do like that it adds a texture. It's a neat stitch to do. I want to add more stitching to each of these houses. I did do filled in each of those little shrubs and also the tree, and I'm going to do that next. And I do use 2 different colors of green for that. And again, just doing the satin stitch, a real easy fill-in stitch. Got my stitches close together there and just filling those in. Onto the tree too, just using that fill-in satin stitch. And then use another color green for a couple of the other shrubs. Decided on 2 other colors here for just little details on the house. I'm going to do the chain stitch on this particular house's roof. The chain stitch is very similar to the daisy stitch. You just keep going with it, keep just chaining with it. I really love, again, the texture that this gives, and it really looks like a roofing material, almost looks like shingles. So I thought that worked really well for this little roof. At the end, I have some close-up pictures, so you'll be able to see more of the details of this. But again, just really easy. I've noticed that I don't always wrap my thread around the needle the same direction, and of course you're supposed to do that. And so again, just take some practice. I filled in the little window frame there and also some of the toppers of the windows and doors. And then just notice I have that perfect little square there on that back side of that journal cover. And I have this little doily, and that just fits perfect there. I thought maybe I should, I mean, for first I thought I was just going to do a stamped image, but then I thought, no, this doily, I've had it for a long time, and I thought I'm just going to use that. I just whip stitched that on. On to coloring my little row houses. I'm using my Inktense Pencils. I've got just a mat here. This is a dollar store cutting mat, and I'm just getting some of that color right onto that mat. I'm going to be using a dry method for this house because I don't want my color to run. And so I'm wetting that, activating that color right on my mat. And I'm just using water for this. You want to make sure that that's completely wet and completely activated. Then I dried my brush on that paper towel. My fabric is completely dry, and I'm adding that activated or that wet Inktense right on in a real light wash. Now this, and you'll see it doesn't go beyond, it doesn't like run out into the fibers at all, because I'm doing it as dry as possible. I did a feather design a few weeks ago, and I'll link that up on the iCards and also down below for you, where I wanted the ink to run into the fiber, and I just kind of made it more of a part of the design. So you can control this. You just want to experiment with it. I do find that activating it with water or like a fabric medium would also work on a mat first, instead of activating it once it's already applied to the fabric, is just an easier way to control it. I did not use fabric medium on this design because this is a journal cover and is not meant to be washed, but that's another option for you if you want something that you want to be more washed. Like some people even put it on aprons or pot holders. You can do that. I would use a fabric medium. Added a couple more colors here to the roofs and to the little doors. That one was like a rusty or rose color, and this is just a neat sage green that I thought would be kind of fun too to add just another color onto these. Going to put the door and also the roof. I didn't show this, and I did it after the fact, even after taking my pictures, but I did go through and added a really pale yellow to the windows, and just kind of thought it needed something, and it worked really well for that. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. There is some more pictures at the end here. I also want to say, if you wanted to do more shading, I would let this completely dry and then add another layer on top in the same way if you want some shading on those houses. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. The next video, I'm going to be putting it together and adding the inside and some pages. Thanks for joining me on this journey of slow stitching. Bye for now.